All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Pradeep Racherla, Program Director for Northwestern School of Business. Actually, I appreciate everyone being here. Today's a working day, it's an evening, and it takes a lot to come here, so I'm guessing you're all interested in talking. So without wasting too much time, let me introduce the speaker for today. It's a pleasure and a privilege to invite Dr. Mohanbir Sawhney to our city. As most of you know, Dr. Sawhney is a noted management consultant and author. He's a professor of strategy at Kellogg School of Business. And then his core areas of expertise are high technology startups, high technology strategy, and so many other domains. Right? And then he does a lot of consulting with companies in the Fortune 500 and beyond. So today's talk would be strategy and the startup. And then, without wasting too much time, I would like to see the floor.
Good evening. Let's try that one more time. I want to make sure you're awake. Good evening.
Good evening.
That's wonderful. It's good to be with you all. And as it was said in the introduction, I spend a lot of time working with big as well as small technology companies, all the way from 3 people in a garage to Google and Facebook. So I wanted to share with you some of the experiences that I've had working with almost over 50 startups over the past 20 years, and so that you can learn from their mistakes. I always tell my students that you should make mistakes, but make new ones. Don't make the same mistakes other people have made. So make original mistakes. And then I also want to, so I want to do 3 things just now. Today. One is I want to talk to you about the fact that this is, and I've been around a long time, this is perhaps the most exciting time to be an entrepreneur, particularly in the online services and information technology space. And I'll explain why. But the second thing, key message I want to share with you is that entrepreneurship does require a method. It does require a strategy. It does require thinking systematically. And I'm going to take you through all the building blocks of what it takes to make a successful startup company. And finally, I want to make an observation about the state of startups in India and why is it that we haven't seen a Facebook or a Airbnb or a Microsoft come out of India. What will it take to build product startups? Because that is, I think, the next generation of value creation. So that's our agenda, right? So why do I say this is an exciting time to be an entrepreneur? We live in, the metaphor that I think about is we live in a Lego block economy. What does the Lego block economy mean? If you think about what Lego blocks allow you to do, you can build very complicated structures using a set of building blocks that are very flexible and that are easy to assemble. Similarly, what you have today is the availability of infrastructure on demand, services on demand, capital on demand. All these things are out there. Look at the time, the days when we had to build a software company, you had to start from scratch, buy servers, write software applications and code, and then take it to market. And now what do you have? You have an iOS or an Android platform. You have a development kit. You write an app. And within a year, you can build $1 billion valuation. That's a Waze, that's an Instagram, that's a Snapchat. Snapchat was founded in November 2011. And they've turned down a cash offer of $3 billion. Why? Because all the pieces are there. All you need is a creative way to assemble the pieces and come up with a creative idea. For example, there's a startup that one of my students has started, and he's now in Gurgaon, and it's called VMOC. VMOC is in the career preparation space and human analytics. So what they do is they have built an instant resume analyzer where you upload your resume and it basically parses through it and gives you very specific recommendations on how to improve your resume for a particular job. Plus, it also scores your resume on a percentile basis. They have run through 6 million resumes, and they're analyzing tens of thousands of resumes every day. How many servers do they have? 0. They have no computers. He just has a laptop. Why? Because he's running the infrastructure off of Amazon Web Services. This is the power of the network. This is the power of the app economy or the Lego block economy. So it's a really exciting time because you need nothing but your creativity and execution. Those are the thing that you need. An idea, smart people, and moving fast. And that is why I think that what they're trying to do at Woxsen is so important at this point in time, because the wealth creation opportunity for entrepreneurs, for startups, has never been better. So what does it take to build a startup? So if you think of a startup as a recipe, there are some ingredients. And the ingredients are, you need an idea. You need to start out with an idea that's big, that's compelling, that's powerful, where you can create a lot of value. You also need a team, sort of smart people with the right skill sets and capabilities to execute. You need money. And you need sufficient money to get to where you want to get to. And I'll talk about what kind of money you want to raise, how much, and when. And I will apologize in advance to the venture capitalists in the room, because I'm going to say some not so nice things about them, but that's all right. And you need a plan. All of this will be useless without execution. And then the secret sauce in the recipe is luck. Any entrepreneur who says it was all me is lying, because you have to also be at the right place at the right time. If you're at the right place at the right time, the wave will take you along. But by the way, the wave will only take you along if you know there is a wave. People say an apple fell on Newton's head, but Newton sat under an apple tree with ripe apples. So you have to be there. Chance always favors the prepared mind. So you have to have a prepared mind, but then you got to be at the right place at the right time. So that's what I'm going to first talk about. What does a winning idea look like? What kind of people do I need? Where do I begin? Who do I hire? Who do I put together on my founding team? What sort of plan do I need to put together? What's a business plan look like? How do I get enough money? And what are some of the challenges I'll face in execution? Okay, so let's look at these. Let's start with the first, which is the idea. I saw this bumper sticker in California, which was quite amusing. It said, technology is the answer. Now what was your question? So I see so many companies say, we are into solutions. I said, what is the problem? I don't know, but we are in solutions, right? So before you jump into the technology solution, start with the problem. And in fact, the starting point is you need to solve for some customer problem. You need to alleviate some pain point. And the best startups are startups that fix a pain that is clearly identifiable or solve a problem that is compelling and easy to explain, right? So, because the bottom line is, no customer cares about your products. People don't wake up in the morning and say, I need to go buy some software today. No, they need to run their life. They need to manage their affairs. They need to get rich. They need to communicate and connect with friends. So that's what people do. They care about their problems, not the product. So if you want to understand where you can create value, you have to find a problem that people have. That's your starting point. The product comes later. The solution comes later, right? So here's some really interesting quotes, from Revlon. They said, in the stores we sell cosmetics, in the factories we sell cosmetics, but in the stores we sell hope. So it's really, they're in the hope business. The customer is not buying cosmetics. The customer is buying a way to look young. In fact, the name of the brands are age-defying makeup, anti-wrinkle cream. What is that? It's hope in a jar. It's not cosmetics. So here's an interesting, important insight. What you sell is not what the customer buys from you. What you sell is a product. What the customer buys is value, utility, something that it will do for them. And you really have to think from that point of view. And I like what the CEO of Cemex, it's a cement company based in Mexico, he says, our job is to help customers complete their construction projects. Because at the end of the day, nobody wakes up and says, I need a bag of cement. They need to build a bridge or a road. I was with the Woxsen leadership team today. We went to the site to see the building being built. So they're building a dream. They're not buying cement. So you have to really think about how this company does a great job trying to help their customers in project management, not only for cement. Okay? So here are some examples of startup companies that solve problems. Have you heard of a company called Waze? Waze is an Israeli startup, just got sold to Google for $1.1 billion. It's an app. It's an app. And their tagline says it all. Outsmarting traffic together. That's it. Social GPS. Right? GPS plus social. So that's, Linksys. How do I use the internet in my home? Everywhere else in my home. Or you look at Dropbox. such a simple, compelling problem, which is, where's my stuff and is it safe? Can I get it wherever I want? You know what Dropbox valuation was in the last round? $8 billion. They built $8 billion of value just by creating essentially a hard drive in the cloud. By the way, how did I get this presentation? 10 minutes ago from Dropbox, right? So I don't have to carry my stuff with me and I know my stuff is safe. Simple problem solved, right? DocuSign. As the name suggests, it's a service for signing documents. And the problem they solve is the following. I'm on a public company board, so I get a lot of approvals and signatures that I have to sign. I'm traveling now. I just got a document and half an hour ago. They said, you need this board resolution, you need it signed. What do I do now? I have to print it out. Where? I have to go to the business center of the hotel, print it out, then I have to sign it, then I have to scan this. And then I have to email it. What I do is now I use DocuSign. Electronically sign, my signature is stored in the cloud. In 15 seconds, I've signed the document, sent it off. You know what DocuSign's valuation is? $1 billion. So that's the idea, and I could go on and on. Airbnb. This is a very interesting company, and I think somebody should do Airbnb in India. It's waiting to happen. Payingguest.com. You know, where basically you take your extra rooms in your house, monetize them, become a hotelier. Airbnb is a $4 billion valuation. They have sold 9 million rooms. I use Airbnb for the house that I have. I have a little coach house at the back of my house. We were making $1,500 a month in rent from a tenant. We make now $1,800 to $2,000 a month, and I only rent it 9 days or 10 days in a month. Simple problem solved. So on and so forth. I could go. So sometimes, you know, if you, and notice, by the way, each of these problems is something that you can explain easily. You get it. If it takes you half an hour to explain the problem you're solving, don't solve it. It's not worth doing. Okay? So the 3 tests for a good problem is it something that customers consider to be really important? Right? Is it of great importance? For example, getting access to my files, is that important? By golly, it's really important for me. How frequently does the customer encounter this problem? Every day. Why is Google so popular? Because you use it 10, 20 times a day. But other sites that you might use, you know, relatively infrequently may not be as valued. Although, if you look at, for instance, a dating site or a wedding site, you might use it infrequently, but it's a very important job. And the third thing that you have to ask yourself is, to what level is the current way of solving that problem frustrating for the customer? What is the delta between what you're creating and what the existing workaround is? Multiply these 3 things. Frequency times importance times frustration gives you the index of opportunity. So if you want to summarize all of this, I would say if you're going to do a startup, doing a startup is like applying for a job with a customer. The customer hires you to do a job for them. So you need a resume. This is your solution resume. The solution resume should have the following. This is your business plan in a page. This is our idea. These are our customers. This is the job we will do for them. This is what they currently do. Relative to what they do now, they will get this. What will they have to give up in return? How will we make money and how will we monetize? How will we keep costs low? Who will we partner with? How will we win? These are our assumptions. This is how we learn about the assumption. This is your business plan in 30 minutes. If you have a resume that fits in a page, that's your beginning of a startup. And these are some tests of how valuable a problem that you have. Okay? First, solve a real problem. What is the real problem? Don't imagine that the problem exists because you have that problem. You have to actually go out, talk to a few people, validate it. A problem is real when real people have that problem. By the way, developers are fake people. And gazing at your navel is not a good way to do market research, looking at yourself. You have to actually go out and talk to real people. So you have to figure out if the problem is real. You also have to solve a focused problem. Don't try to boil the ocean and try to do everything. Look at how focused a problem DocuSign is solving. You could say, no, this is too narrow. I want to do other things. I want to do, you know, document management and knowledge management and archival. And no. If, you know, I have an insight for you. If you want to broaden your revenues, you must narrow your markets. Focus. Focus, focus. Actually, I just finished writing my 6th book, and that's what it's about. It's the power of focus. I call it fewer, bigger, bolder. It's really about doing Growth is about doing less, but being better at what you do, not trying to do too much. So solve a problem that's big. There's a website I came across, it's called hothot.com. They sell hot sauce, chili sauce. Now, it's interesting, but how big is this problem? How much chili sauce can the world consume? But if you're solving the problem of decongesting the internet, that's what Akamai did. That's a huge problem. Or if Google's solving the problem of organizing the world's information, you think that's a small problem? It's a big problem. So the test of the problem is if the entire world, you solve this problem for the entire world, how many billions of dollars could you make? That's the test. The fourth problem is solve a problem that's hard, that's difficult. There's something about it that is not easy to do. I remember talking to the founders of etoys.com 15 years ago. They came to me and said, the beauty of our startup is we're two people in a garage, and we've outsourced our warehousing, we've outsourced our website development and so on, and we're running this site to sell toys. So I said, wait a minute. What about 3 other people in another garage? They could do exactly what you're doing. What makes you different or uniquely qualified to solve this problem? There has to be something proprietary. Never play on a level playing field. You have to have some edge, some unfair advantage. Either you have relationships or some skills or proprietary technology or speed of execution, but you need to have something that's distinguished. The problem has to be hard. Solve an obvious problem. An obvious problem is something that, as I said, you can explain to your grandmother and she gets it. As opposed to some highly technical. Sometimes my eyes glaze over when the entrepreneur, I said, what do you do? 5 minutes later, I'm still asking, what do you do? So that's not a good sign. It's something that you say, you should be able to explain it in a phrase, in a word, in a sentence. This is what we do, right? Solve a problem that's complete. Don't leave 80% of the solution done and 20% you can figure it out for yourself. If you don't solve the problem completely, you haven't convinced the customer. Okay? You have to solve the complete. And solve a problem that's getting worse. Google's problem, organizing the world's information, is getting worse, which means that the value that they're creating will only exponentially increase. So you have to ask yourself, is this problem? So for example, Waze. I said they're a way for you to use social networks to beat traffic. You think traffic's getting better? No. So you know that the problem I'm solving will only get more valuable over time. So that's something to think about. Okay? So in summary, these are some questions for the idea. First thing you have to ask is, who am I talking to? Who am I addressing with this idea? What is the problem I'm solving for them? What is their pain point? And how do I know that these pain points are real? What evidence do I have? Who have I spoken to? And then, what are their current solution approaches? One of the biggest mistakes I see entrepreneurs make, they'll come to me and I say, who's your competition? They say, we have no competition. We're the first ones doing this. I said, there is always competition. There is an existing way that customers solve this problem. It may not be elegant, but there is an existing workaround for it. And you need to know what that reference point is. For example, what was the first wireless optical network? A smoke signal. It's wireless and it's optical. So smoke signals have been used to communicate, right? It's a communication network. So if you say that I'm creating a wireless optical network, there's no competition, no. There's lots of ways that customers, it's just that technology produces better solutions to existing problems. And by the way, problems are never new. Solutions approaches are new. That is why it's so important to focus on the problem, not the solution. And also the solution space is more parsimonious than the problem space. The problem space is more parsimonious than the solution space. There are fewer problems, more solution approaches. So it's, and then you got to ask yourself, how is my approach better? And if my approach is better, how much will people pay for this improvement in the approach, right? And then you have to ask, hasn't anybody else thought of this idea? Notice I have another question. Are you sure that nobody's thought of your idea? Because most ideas have been done. That doesn't mean they've been done right. It's not the first. They talk about first mover advantage. I think that's wrong. There's no such thing as first mover advantage. It's the first finisher advantage. Who was the first guy to climb Everest? We don't know. But we know that Hillary and Tenzing came back. There was a team before them. Who was the guy? Mallory, yeah. They know he made it to about 300 meters below, but he died. So there's no point. So don't worry about being first mover. Be the first one to finish. Do it right. Apple's never the first to do anything, but they nail it when they do it. And their strategy is that I can summarize it in 5 words. We make things suck less, right? They take a product that exists and they improve it. And now the guy who did the iPod is now doing a thermostat. Thermostats also suck. And he's made Nest, which is a thermostat that learns. So, you look around you, everything sucks. All technology is suboptimal. Whether it's this video camera or whether it's this projector or whether it's this damn thing, it's better than what they used to have. I had one which had 3 types of buttons. And you didn't know which was forward, which was back. And by the way, you can't go back, you can only go forward. So, so that's the notion. Now let's talk about the team. Okay? Now, to simplify things, let me not make it too complicated. You need 3 kinds of people. You need people to make stuff, you need people to sell stuff, you need people to keep the ship running. That's it. Don't overcomplicate. You need a technical team, you need a business development and sales and marketing team, and then you need somebody to do finance and administration. That's it. And then you need the founder. Now here's some sins that people make in hiring. You hire people you know. I'm sure you have a good friend circle, but you need to go beyond that. You need to sort of network and meet people beyond your immediate, because don't hire based just on convenience of who you know, because that may not be the best athlete, right? Hiring without due diligence. Do your homework. People are not what they say they are. Later you may find out that, that their resume was also flawed. Sometimes people lie even about their educational accomplishments and so on and so forth. So make sure you do your homework. Also, I've seen startups make the mistake of saying, this guy spent 20 years with Hewlett-Packard, 18 years with Microsoft. He must be really good. Well, he was good at Hewlett-Packard. When he comes to you, he'll say, where is my assistant? Where's my staff? And you say, you have to take out the garbage, make the coffee, and you're the CEO. So sometimes big company stars don't work well in a startup environment, so you kind of have to be careful. They may have good pedigree, but do they survive without their support system, right? Hiring the wrong attitude. You cannot change attitudes. You never hire people, you hire attitudes. You get the people with the wrong attitude, they will kill the rest of your team. So you really need to know, don't hire, and by the way, if you find people with the wrong attitude, don't try to change them, they will change you. They will not change. So you need to, hiring people who don't listen. By the way, smart people tend to know what to do, but smart people, really smart people also listen. And that's a test I use. An entrepreneur will come to me and I will say, here's what you need to do. Then he'll say, can you join my advisory board? I said, wait, here's what you need to do, come back in 60 days. Then he comes back in 60 days, I said, what have you done? And I use that as a test. Did he listen? Did he actually implement some of those things? Or if he's on his own tangent, then I say, you know what, you're better off on your own, because you really need an advisor. You're not going to listen to the advisor. Okay? Don't hire high-powered CFOs or VPs of sales when you're starting out. I saw this company, they had a vice president of sales. Why? Because they found a really good sales guy. They had no product. So he was selling theoretical stuff. He had a pipeline, he had his charts and call plan. I said, what are you selling? He said, that future product. So similar, you don't need CFOs. Hire some accountant to do your accounts for you. When you get to public markets, then you need a CFO. So one mistake people make is hiring too many expensive people and increase their burn rate, when all you need initially in your company, 95% should be engineers. After that, you start to get some business development and sales and marketing people. Then you start to build the overall team. Okay? So what investors ask is, they ask, who is the leader? How passionate are they? And the leader has to be a magnet for talent. Can they attract talent? Can they bring a team around them? Because people work for leaders. People don't work for managers in startup. They work for people who lead. And also, is the management team appropriate for the stage of the company? This is what I was saying before, that if you're an early stage startup, all I should see is developers. And one CEO is going to manage the outside. Then I should see a couple of business development people. So your team evolves as your organization evolves. I really like to see teams that have worked together before, because you know that the chemistry works, you know that there's prior experience. And particularly, 2 things that one looks for in a team is someone to lead the technical development and someone to lead the business development. That's all. Technical development, business development. By the way, business development is code word for sales. If somebody hires you for business development, you are selling. Have no doubt about that. Okay? So now, if you're going to be a CEO of a startup, if you're going to be a founder of a startup, these are some things that you need. Passion. one of the things that I really look for when an entrepreneur comes to me is I try to evaluate, and it's not easy to evaluate this, how much fire is there in their belly? How passionate are they? There's a venture capitalist friend of mine, he said, you know, entrepreneurs come to us and they make a mistake. They think that they want to convince us how much we like their idea. He says, that's not what we're looking for. We want to see how much they like their idea. Because they're the ones who are going to live with it. So it's not about you like, me liking your idea. You have to like your idea. You have to be passionate about it. I love what Steve Jobs says in his biography. We want to put a dent in the universe. That's a modest goal, right? So that's what you got to have. You have to have passion. You have to have that, and you have to have integrity. There are lots of ways to cut corners, but in the end, that comes back to bite you. Values are really important. Value is important. Values are even more important. Openness. Some people know what they want and they move ahead regardless of input. You have to not just assume that my idea wins. It's the best idea wins, and you have to be open to